Good day, guys. Welcome to episode 10. We are going to discuss demand sensing today. So, your supplier has live sales data right now. Your retail partner ran a promotion last Friday. The weather hit 38 degrees in your top 10 markets and held. Your demand plan does not know any of this. In episode 9, we decoded CPFR. What happens when two trading partners finally share one forecast? Today we go one layer deeper. Demand sensing, not the forecast, the real time correction layer that sits between the plan you built last month and the market that moved this morning. Where it came from, how it works, why most companies have the data and are not reading it. So, this is development on your normal forecasting. We are not going to replace demand forecasting. We are going to take demand sensing into consideration in your forecast, the real time correction layer. So, look at this slide. Left side, what your plan believes right now, right side, what is actually happening right now. The red line between them is not a design element, that is the gap where stockouts live. See, every company in the world has some version of this gap. The plan was built on last month's data, the previous data. The market moved over the weekend. The plan does not update itself. So, most organizations discover this gap in the wrong place. That is what we have to improve on. They do not catch it on a dashboard, they kind of simply catch it in a write off or in an out of stock during a promotion, in an inventory review where nobody can explain the overage. Demand sensing closes this gap. That is its entire job, not to replace the forecast, not to make planning redundant, to correct the plan in real time before the gap becomes a consequence. The gap between your last forecast and right now is not a planning failure, it is a sensing gap. The definition on screen is deceptively simple. Real time signals 0 to 30 days before the forecast cycle catches up, meaning the before we go ahead and do the next forecast. That single sentence is both the diagnosis of the problem and the complete description of the fix. But look at where this started now. In 1990s, not a technology company or a consulting firm started this. P&G and Walmart running the first demand driven replenishment programs. Point of sales data from Walmart's retail network feeding directly into P&G's production planning. They were not calling it demand sensing at that time, they were calling it being faster than the purchase order. 2008 to 2012, Terra Technology formalizes the short horizon window as a named discipline. 0 to 30 days gets its own methodology separate from mid range planning. The gap finally has a name and a process. What happened in 2018, O9 Solutions acquires Terra Technology. Sensing moves from a specialist discipline into mainstream enterprise platforms. Kinaxis, SAP, IBP, Blue Yonder all build sensing modules into their core product. This capability is now in every system you are likely already running on your laptop. And yet, most mid market organizations have not connected a single external signal to their demand plan. The technology is there, the data is there, the gap is not technology, it is a decision. So, the discipline is 20 years old. The adoption gap is not a technology problem, it is a decision problem. Now, the most common mistake when organizations discover demand sensing is to treat it as a replacement for demand planning. It is not. Planning is the foundation, the statistical baseline, the method selection, the ABC, XYZ segmentation, every episode from 3 to 9 in the season we spoke about. And if that foundation is broken, sensing amplifies the broken signal. You are now correcting in real time against a plan that was wrong to begin with. So sensing is the correction layer on top of working foundation. Sensing comes with POS data, weather forecast, IoT signals, social velocity, the information that arrived after the planning cycle closed, which is processed daily, sometimes hourly, correcting the plan before the forecast cycle runs again. See, this order matters. Fix the plan, then improve the model, then add sensing. In that sequence, always, never the other way around. And that gold line at the bottom of the slide, read it. Sensing infrastructure takes 2 to 3 years to build. Every quarter you delay, a competitor who started earlier is further ahead of you. This is not an upgrade you can buy overnight. Sensing corrects the plan. It does not replace it. Fix the foundation first. Now, this slide is the reason most mid-market organizations are 3 years behind. The belief is structurally understandable. AI, data science teams, platform investment, 18 months of implementation. If that is what sensing requires, most organizations cannot start. That is not sensing. Look at the right panel. It is one signal, one threshold rule, one afternoon to connect it, a weather API that is free, PMI data published monthly by every major central bank, which is free, measurable ROI within one season. So these are all the factors you have to take in while sensing. What external signal do you already know influences demand? Is the question. Are you reading it? So every planning team in every company already knows the answer for that question. The signal that moves every SKU every summer, the promotion that spikes demand every quarter, the regulatory event that changes the mix every year. They know it, they discuss it in planning meetings, they have never connected it to the plan. You have to learn from here and connect it to your plan. Most companies are waiting for perfect sensing infrastructure. No. The best one started with the weather API 3 years ago. So let us take a example. Friday at 6 p.m. a promotion goes live in a major retail chain. Point of sales double by POS sales double by Saturday morning. The demand planner's model does not know the last signal update was 28 days ago. The plan stays, they say that the plan is going to be steady. It's not going to change. The retail buyer shared the promotional calendar 6 weeks ago. It went into a presentation. It never reached the supply planning team. So what happened? Monday morning, the exception engine fires. Variance plus 33%. Stockout risk on the top 3 SKUs, which has only 72 hours window. So 3 people in the same meeting, 3 completely different versions of what happened. The demand planner sees normal demand because the model is reading normal demand. The retail buyer knows the promotion fired. The supply planner is hearing about all of it for the first time. This is not a personal failure. This is not a forecasting failure. The stockout happened before anyone walked into that room. The signal existed. The promotion was real. The weather was real. The POS data was live. The sensing layer did not exist. That is the only reason the 3 people in that room have 3 different versions of reality. So demand sensing is not a technology problem. It is an information architecture problem. The flow of information here is vital. Let us now take an example of a beverage category, a temperature sensitive SKU. For 5 consecutive summers, whenever temperatures cross 38 degrees Celsius, demand increased by nearly 150%. Not a forecast, not an assumption. 5 years of clean historical data was present with the organization. Everyone knew it, sales knew it, planning knew it, operations knew it. The relationship between temperature and demand was discussed in every planning meeting and reviewed every season. Yet it was never connected to the forecast. The monthly statistical forecast continued unchanged through every heat wave. The signal was known, the impact was known, the model never reflected either. What was the fix? The fix was not a new platform, it was not a budget decision, it was a free weather API connected to a 3-day forecast for the top 10 markets. One simple rule: 4 consecutive days above 38-degree triggers a replenishment top up recommendation. One afternoon to connect it, zero technology cost. Stockouts per season fell from 11 to 2. The signal was available, the pattern was always known, the data was free. The only missing piece was the decision to connect the signal to the plan. And that was the difference between 11 stockouts a season and 2. The signal was always available, the only missing piece was the decision to connect it. Look at the slide over here, and there are 5 questions on this slide. You already know the answer to every one of them. Most planning teams do not need to research these answers, they lived them this quarter. Questions 1, 2, and 3: does your plan update when POS changes? Do you have a defined threshold? Does your plan correct within 72 hours? For most organizations in this room, the honest answer to all 3 is no. Question 4: can you name the 3 external signals your team already knows influence your top SKUs? The tag says discuss, not yes, not no. Discuss. Because every planning team can name them. They come up in every planning meeting. Not one of them is in the model. Question 5: your last stockout. Did it happen because the signal did not exist or because it existed and was never connected to the plan? For most organizations, the signal existed. The beverage SKU we just looked at, the signal existed for 5 years. The question is not whether your signal exists, it almost certainly does. The question is whether anyone has connected it to the plan. If you answered no to 3 or more, you are not sensing demand, you are discussing it. The next slides show you exactly where to start. Now, I did try to take separate different industries from what we took in our previous episodes. These 3 industries are not in the textbook examples of demand sensing. That is exactly why they are here. So let us now talk about diamonds. A diamond manufacturer does not wait for purchase orders to understand demand. They monitor luxury consumption indicators, China PMI, US consumer confidence, wedding season patterns months before orders arrive. When those indicators move simultaneously, production scheduling adjusts before a single retailer has placed a reduced PO. Sensing begins before the order exists. Fresh fruit: a mango exporter senses 2 things at once: crop availability and market demand. Temperature and rainfall data tells the supply story. Festival calendars and regional consumption patterns tell the demand story. Shelf life starts counting before the fruit leaves the farm. A 3-day weather forecast is more valuable than last season's sales history. This is two-sided sensing, supply and demand in the same signal feed. Book publishing: a bestseller can be detected before bookstore orders arrive. Search trend velocity, pre-order rate, review spike frequency, author appearance schedule. These signals tell the print run decision weeks before the orders confirm it. Without sensing, you stock out the week the world is watching. With sensing, the second print run is already on press. The signal type changes by industry. The discipline is identical. See, demand sensing is not a retail technique. It is a universal discipline. The signal exists in every industry. Most companies are ignoring it or maybe not reading it altogether. Most organizations skip steps 1 and go straight to 3. They identify a signal, set a threshold, and declare sensing live, on top of a planning process that has never been audited, a segmentation that has never been validated, a bias structure that has never been cleared. Sensing on a broken foundation amplifies the broken signal. You are now correcting it in real time against errors that compound with every cycle. Step 2 is the most underestimated step in this slide. Your planning team already knows which external factors move your demand. Temperature, promotional calendar, regulatory events, competitor launches. They discuss them in every planning meeting. They have never been captured as formal signals inputs. The capture is step 2, and it requires nothing except a structured conversation with the people already in the room. So, what does the step 3 say? The threshold rule is where most organizations overcomplicate. They build machine learning models on incomplete data before they have validated a single rules a single rules based threshold. The rule comes first. When signal X exceeds threshold Y, adjust plan by Z%. Run it, validate it, then only then add the model. Step 4 is the step that gets skipped when sensing is working. The stockout rates drops. The overstock rate drops. Nobody records why. 4 weeks of before and after measurement is your sensing ROI, and it is your justification for the next layer of investment. Sensing amplifies whatever is in the foundation, good or broken. Fix the foundation first. So, most organizations have built layer 1, some have started layer 2, almost none might have built layer 3. Layer 1 is your statistical baseline, historical data, monthly planning cycle. What happened? You all have this. Layer 2 is real-time sensing, POS, IoT, weather, event calendars, what is happening this episode. Layer 3 is macro signal overlay, GDP trajectory, PMI, inflation curve, consumer confidence, commodity prices. These are top-down signals that move 6 to 12 weeks before the impact slows or the impact is shown in your sales data. By the time a macro signal shows in your sales data, you are already 6 to 12 weeks behind the market. Look at that consequence table. GDP decelerating, discretionary demand softening in 6 to 8 weeks. That information is in every central bank report published this month. It is public data. It kind of costs nothing. Your demand plan is not reading it. Inflation rising, consumers trading down from premium SKU to value SKUs. That shift is already happening in retail data. It will show in your sales history in 2 quarters. You can see it now. This is not advanced analytics. This is reading information that is already published and connecting it to a plan that currently ignores it. Layer 1 tells you what happened, layer 2 tells you what is happening, and layer 3 tells you what is about to happen. Look at the cockpit. Fire warning, master caution. The instruments are reading, the warnings are lit. The question is only whether anyone is watching them. Those 3 numbers on the right are not from a case study. They are from this year, 2026, recent month data. Right now, US inflation at 4.2%. That is a 15 to 20% demand shift from premium SKUs to value SKUs already happening in consumer goods retail. If your demand plan has or was built on last year's mix, it is wrong data. It is very wrong today. Global PMI at 47.2. Below 50 means contraction. Industrial demand is slowing. The orders that confirm it will arrive in your system in 6 to 8 weeks. The signal is available right now. Every demand plan running without macro signal integration is flying without an altimeter. The instruments are reading, the warnings are lit, the data is public, the window to act 6 to 8 weeks before this shows in your write-offs instead of your dashboard. So every demand plan running without macro signal integration is flying without an altimeter. The data is public, the window is 6 to 8 weeks. So this week, one action, not a platform evaluation, not a vendor call, not a steering committee. One product, one external signal you already know influences its demand. If you cannot think of one in the next 10 seconds, your planning team can. Ask them in your next planning meeting, what external factor do we already know moves this SKU? They will have the answer immediately. They discuss it every month. It has never been connected to the model. So find the data source, whether APIs are free, government GDP and PMI data is published monthly, event calendars exist. You do not need new technology. You just need to connect the signal. The micro things to be added in the forecasting, the meso things to be added in the forecasting, and the macro things. 3 things which influence your demand forecasting. Define one rule: when signal X exceeds threshold Y, adjust plan by Z%. Write it down. That is your sensing model. It is allowed to be that simple. Track for 4 weeks, measure stockout rate and overstock rate before and after. That number, however small, is your sensing return on investment, ROI. Present it to the top management. 3 things from today: demand sensing does not replace demand forecast, it corrects it. Fix the foundation first. The signal you need already exists. Most companies are discussing it in planning meetings and not connecting it to the plan. And the macro signal layer, GDP, PMI, inflation, is public data. It costs nothing to read. The cost is only in not reading it. Next episode, we talk about AI in demand planning. Not aspiration, what is genuinely available today, what the governance questions actually are, and why the technology is the easy part. So like, share and subscribe. Connect the signal to people who want this kind of information and insight on supply chain management. Thank you guys. See you again.